Hello everyone, this is the second HP Omen X laptop I have received. As some of you may know, I made a review on the first one and it had some major problems, so I ended up returning that one. But here's the second one, and let's see how this works. Alright, so at the time I'm recording this voiceover, I've had the computer for several weeks and I've done extensive testing, and I found the same two major problems exist, and the overheating is actually worse. I tested it in a hotter environment this time to see how it would act in the summer, because the first time when it was overheating in the high 80s, that was in a very cold room. So this time I heated up the room and I tested it, and I'll give you guys those results in a second. But first of all, let's go over the major problems with this computer. I'm going to try to make this a brief review and just give you guys a quick summary of everything wrong with this, and then tell you whether I think it's worth buying or not. Okay, so the first major problem is the overheating. It's very noticeable. As soon as you're on it for like 20 minutes, you'll notice it's already reaching mid 80s, high 80s, with a room temperature of around 75 Fahrenheit, and the computer's reaching high 80s Celsius, which is very hot. That's like almost enough to boil water. 100 Celsius is boiling water. I'm not sure if you guys are from the US or not, or if you're familiar with Celsius, but 100 is damaging to Intel processors, and that's the part that's overheating. The GPU temperature is pretty decent, but the processor is overheating by a lot. So 100 is damaging to the processors. Like if it reaches 100, they say it's just going to, fry your processor by reaching 100. So 90s is really, it shouldn't be in the 90s. Really, I'd be comfortable with temperatures in the 70s, and that's even high, but that's kind of average for most gaming laptops. Higher temperatures like 70s, high 70s maybe, low 80s maybe would be okay after you've been on it for a long time under a heavy workload maybe, but it shouldn't be high 80s just within 10-15 minutes. Okay, so to test the overheating on this second model I received, I heated the room up to 80 Fahrenheit, which is about 26 Celsius, and I was on it for around 2 hours playing PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which is pretty taxing on the CPU. So the highest temperature I recorded was 97 Celsius, at which point it rebooted, it just shut itself down and restarted. So it kicked me out of the game, which is really annoying. Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, that's frustrating when you just get interrupted in the middle of the game. It's not something that anyone, I would say, should tolerate or would tolerate. Having a computer that just overheats to the extent of shutting down is definitely not okay. But that first time it did shut down. It took me like 2 hours to overheat it to that point. So yeah, I guess if you're not going to be on it that long, well, no, I won't say that. No, that's really not okay for that computer to be doing that after any amount of time, really, to overheat to the point where it just shuts itself down. Okay, so also what I should mention is after it shut down that first time, it took much less time to shut down the second and third and fourth time. So I think something might have been damaged that first time overheating it, because after that it was shutting down after 20 minutes, half an hour, so somewhere in that range. It was overheating to the point where it would shut down, and it would also shut down at lower temperatures too, randomly. And I got some different problems as well with it. Well, let's get on to the battery drainage. Okay, so for the battery drainage, what it comes down to is that the power supply unit isn't strong enough to provide enough watts for mainly the GPU. So what will happen is your battery percentage will be slowly going down while you're using it and charging it at the same time. It's not a really big deal, but it's just kind of annoying, especially if you want to go somewhere and you're relying on a full battery, but your battery's only at 50% after you've been charging it while using it. So anyways, I thought I'd put that in there. It's not a huge deal, but they should have included a better power supply for the price. I mean, power supplies are cheap. So anyways, there's that. Alright, so next up we have one of the biggest problems, but this only happened once. So I'll show you guys a clip here. Basically what happened was the screen started flickering and it wouldn't accept any input. It wouldn't even do Control-Alt-Delete or anything. So the screen was just like flashing and it wouldn't let me put anything in. I couldn't do anything, couldn't start Task Manager or anything. So, and there was nothing running at the time. The screen just started flickering, and yeah, so I had to shut it down using the power button. There was really nothing else I could do. So that happened once. That's probably due to CPU damage from overheating, would be my guess. Okay guys, I actually found a second clip of it flickering. This was really brief and not nearly as bad, so I actually had forgotten this happened. But this did happen, I think, the day before. It wasn't nearly as bad. It was in Overwatch, and it was just occasionally flickering, as you guys can see here in this clip. But it's nothing too bad, but I mean, it wouldn't let me input anything. The computer is completely frozen, so I would say that's the worst issue than the screen freezing up or flickering, is just the computer being frozen due to who knows what. But the computer didn't even register it as a problem. There was no pop-up that came up or anything. So in a way, it's kind of better that it restarted itself, like when it was overheating, because it actually identified the problem. But yeah, guys, that's all the major problems. I'll just go into the keyboard really quickly for you. There was a problem with the mechanical keyboard. So you guys know that this is like a Cherry MX Blue equivalent switches. So the mechanical keyboard's basically supposed to make a click at the activation point once the keystroke registers. And the click is slightly offset in this keyboard. It's slightly before the activation point. So the keyboard is more similar to a membrane keyboard than a mechanical keyboard. With a membrane keyboard, you have to push down all the way for it to register. This keyboard, you don't have to push down all the way, but you can't just push down to the point where you hear the click. You have to push slightly further. So you have to push kind of like 3/4 of the way down. It's not really noticeable when typing, but if you try to press softly, you can press to the point where you hear a click, and it won't have registered at that point. You have to push it slightly further. So I thought I'd throw that in there because I found that out when I was testing the keyboard. But given all the other problems, I would definitely not recommend you buy this computer. I don't recommend this computer to anyone with all these problems, and the fact that I had the same problems in both computers, and the second one was actually worse. And all of them, my testing was in a relatively cold climate. I mean, imagine if you had this in a hot area. If you're like in the desert or somewhere, the overheating would be even worse. But you know, even when it's cold, this overheating is unacceptable. It's, you know, unusable. Also, I just wanted to say HP's customer support has been really, really bad. Even their supervisors for their tech support and their customer service don't know basic computer terminology, and they didn't really understand my problems. And once they did, they offered me a replacement computer, which would actually have been more expensive than this one was for the same thing. And I was saying, well, you know, I got this one on Black Friday, so I got a deal on it, and they wouldn't have. They were unwilling to transfer that deal basically over to this new computer. So they were saying basically, well, we've wasted 2 months of your time, sent you 2 broken computers, and now we aren't even willing to replace the computer at the original price that you paid. So that was pretty frustrating, and I definitely won't be buying from HP again. But I hope to continue this tech channel and do some more reviews. And I've got some more reviews planned out. Like I've got a speaker, and I'm going to be building a PC. So hopefully some of you guys will still be interested in that and interested in future videos. I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe. I know there's a lot of tech channels out there, but you know, I don't know. If you guys enjoyed these videos, if you found it helpful, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe. Yeah, guys, that's all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Hope this information was useful to you guys to make your decisions. And I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.